fear the unknown? Subscribe and join the spooky tribe. Tell me where you are from. My name is Chloe. I live in Chicago. My roommate, Trisha, liked to work out. She was strict with her diet. She only listened to workout videos online. She admired a fit influencer from Los Angeles who had 1 million followers. The influencer had a great body and an easy lifestyle. Trisha followed her stories religiously. She bought what the influencer suggested. At first, it was harmless. Trisha woke up at 5 a.m. to run. She meal prepped and spent hours at the gym. Then one day, she saw a new product from the influencer. These pills would give her abs. Trisha was so excited. She showed me the stuff. "This is what I need," she said. The influencer's post said it worked. I felt nervous when I read it. There was no official website, the company was unknown. There was only a sketchy order form on the bio. The pills were costly. I did not like how the order form looked. Trisha was already ordering them. I tried to stop her. "They're just supplements," she said. I was shocked when I got this unlabeled box. Inside was Slim Boost Plus. It said to take 2 pills a day and drink water. There were no ingredients or FDA approval. I felt uneasy, yet Trisha was ecstatic. She took both pills at once. Her face lit up. At first, she noticed no changes. After days, she started to experience headaches and lost her appetite. She joked that it's working. Next came stomach pains. One evening, I found Trisha leaning on the counter. Her face had turned pale and she was sweating. "This isn't normal, Trisha," I exclaimed. "You have to stop." She gasped. "It's just my body adjusting." The nutritionist said the first week is tough, but real results would come afterwards. Trisha lay on the couch with her eyes half closed. There was a bottle of water on the table that she had not drunk. At first, she said she was well, only she had a migraine. But soon, Trisha asked Sheila to take her to the hospital. That is where we would have gone. The flat was dark like the mood. All I could hear was the fridge. I had thrown my bag down and called out, but the silence answered me. So was when I passed by and saw her in trouble. I was startled when I noticed that Trisha was alone in the bathroom there. I thought that distance was too much for her. She used to hold the phone. Alarm began to rise in my heart so much. Her chase could not be normal. I prayed for her, gently shaking my hand shoulder. Then I went in search of my cell phone quickly. I grabbed the phone, trembling and terrified of calling 911. I was asked for her pulse. She was stiff. They told her to catch up with her. I pointed at those pills. She was sick. They took her to ER. I stood there with my brain in a daze. As the tiny bird, I stared at the walls in unreality. With a foul smell, the machines were making noises. Trisha was gone. But I learned later that those pills were bad poison. And the doctor told me they had been tampered with. Them pills were not checked by FDA, and the magazines were keeping underrating them. She would dye them. All the influencers lied. They were after the money only. An influencer's careless Instagram post led to Trisha's death. Trisha never realized her followers were so ill. After the shock, she promised her mom to stay calm, but kept on doing many sponsorships. Some people said they were sick because of her actions. I wish that little Trisha would listen to me, that her actions could make her sick and die. I wanted to save her life, but it was not possible. As I browsed through Instagram, I saw posts about a boy named Mason who was very cute. He played with Lego and did puzzles well. I thought that I wanted my son to have such a game that would boost his intelligence and motor skills. I watched a video where Mason was solving some hard puzzles. I was really impressed with him and proud of Mason too, because he was focused and outgoing. Parents are thankful for the fun the toy brings to kids. I browsed the store. The store page had cool images of building blocks and stated that they enhance hand-eye coordination and problem-solving skills. Since the seller had several positive reviews, I felt I could purchase the toy, hence bought it immediately. A few days later, I got a package. Inside it, the toy was poorly glued and the label had bad English. I doubted if this was a genuine brand, but recalled that Mason valued the toy, not the packing. I sat on the floor with Mason. He took a piece which was one of a set in the bright colors. He tried to connect them together, having joyfully stacked and turned them, but with one snap that happened easily. I picked the broken parts, which were small and not well shaped, a dime size. That wasn't what I was looking for in a toy meant for kids. Should be durable. I got the broken parts and told him to have a break after munching the snack. I was uneasy about the broken toy. I decided to put it away for now. I was overreacting but was worried Mason may use it. My sister called while I was about to pack it up. She was making a recipe and asked how to cook it. Mason sneaked back into the living room. I thought I had packed it away properly, but then I heard Mason choking. I saw him panic. I hurried to help him. I flipped him over and tried to make him cough. High-pitched noises came from his throat. I was terrified that he might die here. Just be careful when raising children. Do not trust ads. Some brands make good items, but one broken toy is dangerous. Parents need to know plastic toys can break and are unsafe for kids. When my son died, I felt intense pain and sorrow. I thought love could help heal this wound, and I cared for him dearly. At his funeral, I came to grips with his passing deep down in my mind. In those first months, I couldn't even cry as my body locked up tight. It was weeks after I finally spoke out loud. After the death of a child, part of the parents dies with them. Dreams go away too. I clung to my son's toy. It was all that remained of him. Even among people, I felt isolated. I just gazed at the toy, the only way I could deal with the heartache and guilt for not being by his side at that moment, which had led to his passing. The local parks reminded me of him. Everywhere I looked were happy pregnant women. I was very envious. I do not want to live in this world anymore. But I had a friend who would not let me go through this alone. All the same, that kid would have never been back, though maybe another child could fill that void, but I would not let grief totally overwhelm me. I no longer want to experience this pain again. I want a child, but not the same affliction. My kid will never return. No one else can replace him. The agony of my loss is unbearable. I stopped eating and drinking, then went to a few bars with my friends each weekend for distraction. I wasted my time trying to forget my heartbreak. I put on clown makeup and amused people on street corners. They laughed. So did I. For a moment, I forgot about my child. Then I came home to find his empty room. I wept. No facade can hide this love. Thanks for the support I got 6 months later. One day, Adam sent me a DM on IG. He was looking sweet and adorable. We chatted daily. He listened and cracked me up. He was relatable. 1 month on, we did share secrets. He recently streamed of early storms. Then he did flirty compliments. I felt special. I liked him too, but was not too eager. I then sent him my photo. He cheered me up. The next free day, he wanted to view my bikini photo. My day was nervous and I had many butterflies buzzing in my tummy. I felt in love for the first time, so I was happy. Some hours later, my friend texted me to check my mail. The feeling in me was so strong when I saw the mail I sent my mom. It had in the mail for her money of $500. I was rechecking it thinking I saw it wrong as I could not believe it. I asked my friend if he had received any reply, but he had sent another mail which had followers on Instagram, and my mom was among them. I had 24 hours. I was feeling choked, and I could not breathe well as I looked at my phone ready to fall from my fingers. I kept telling myself it was a joke, but my friend said I must pay to keep my photo secret. I could not pay since I was a student. I told him this, but he only laughed. I was in a fix and delusional. My head was spinning, and I needed cash urgently. I had no plan on how to get it. Asking a friend felt tough. I didn't have a convincing story. Telling parents was out of the question. I sent him the minimum amount of $200. He said I should ask for the rest. I was between a rock and a hard place. If I failed to settle up with him, he would leak photos. I tried to block him, but he kept messaging me. That person posted pictures of my brother and sister with my address online. I was speechless. He knew too much about me. I thought about it over and over, trying to wrap my mind around it. I assumed he must have saw the street sign and my apartment on Instagram stories. I kept exclaiming, "Oh my God," and I knew there would be more to come. The photo made my parents very happy. Cheering them up was an option for me. I began to cry a lot. It was hard to see the screen since tears blurred my vision. I texted him to go away with a pleading note. He ignored my text. I couldn't sleep that night. I always feared the next vibrate would be from him. I thought Mom would call about the pictures. On campus, Zane and I told the police everything. We showed them some messages. Their expressions showed they felt sorry for me no matter how exhausted I was. The officer said, "There's nothing much we can do. He probably has an alias. He could make another account after you block him. There is just no help for this one." To my parents, I had to confess my fears, but they were the only ones I could run to. I had a hard time looking at my mom as I reported the situation through phone. The moment I told her, she told me to go back home and together we would cope. Just then, I felt slightly relieved. Then I received a message via Instagram. When I opened it, a group chat had formed. All of my friends, classmates, and parents were present. They were the pictures I had sent, and I couldn't comprehend how it got to this point. I felt so numb. My fears had come true. People were sending messages. Some sympathized while others were mocking me. I received so many messages from strangers who had no idea what I was going through. I deactivated my account, but it was already too late. Time just went by without me going to class or seeing anyone. All I did was stay in bed. The moment I sent that picture, it was like a recurring nightmare. I was shattered. Death seemed more inviting than facing people's reactions. I thought that maybe it was not the right way to live. I thought of committing suicide. I lost consciousness and woke up in a hospital bed with no clear memory of what happened. I spent all my time lying on the bed, crying about everything I went through. My mom cried as I lay in bed. My dad looked lost. It seemed they rescued me in time. Life remained unchanged. The guy was arrested, but then he disappeared. He vanished. I began rehabilitation anew. Therapy was hard to bear. The fear remained with me. Don't think it can't happen to you. Once it happens, there's no going back. I'm Kim from Miami. I love perfect cheekbones, sharp jaws rid of lines. Using fillers mustn't go too far, you become fat-faced. Influencers talk, I do facial work, but costs held me back. Bills got in the way, always. One day, Instagram suggested I do nightly shuffles, discovered near impossible cosmetic surgery. I needed mouth fillers, but girls, they were half-priced, the work was flawless. Comments from ladies saying it's excellent results, gave awestruck looks in before, after pictures, what made it the best thing I've ever done. Dr. L, indeed a magician. Prices low quality, results too good to be true. Not some shady place looked neat, modern, had linked to the things. The website had procedures, videos, and testimonies of people. It was indeed a real experience. I verified that the location was local, at most 20 minutes away. After a brief moment of indecision, I sent a message saying, "Hey, interested in the beauty package, do you have openings this week?" They replied instantly, "Hi love, yes, I have a few spots left. They book fast, but I can fit you in this Saturday. Private, cozy setting, love results." This was good for me considering it's personalized and very affordable. I reconfirmed the appointment. They asked for an address to a condo. Then I asked, "Do you work from home?" "Yes, it is more comfortable for my clients, no stress or rush." Trust me, once you do it this way, you would not want to go back to a stuffy office. This made sense. I had heard of beauty guides working at clients' homes or at convenient locations. Maybe this was a new trend not to overthink it. On Saturday morning, I drove to the address given. The building looked decent enough, an older Miami apartment, a little outdated but not sketchy. I took the elevator up and knocked on the door. A man in his mid-30s answered wearing scrubs and a friendly smile. "Kim, right, come in inside." The place was clean but not what I expected. No medical equipment, no receptionist, just a normal apartment with a massage table sitting in the living room. Beside the massage table were the cluttered kitchen counter with boxes of syringes and bottles of the product. "You can sit here," he said, pointing to a stool. "Do you have?" Before surgery, I asked the doctor what stuff he uses. He informed me it was high-level hyaluronic acid brands which he obtains from a friend, which was cheaper than the other brands. That should have been my sign to leave, but I decided to go on with it. He prepared several syringes and instructed me to relax. The first injection hurt more than I assumed. He stated that it was just a little bit stinging, but it was doing its job. The whole process lasted below 20 minutes. I was given a mirror and I was a little swollen, but by the time he said I'd be obsessed with it after a couple of days. First night, my face hurt as I had predicted, but on the next day, I was surprised the pain was deep as well as unbearable. My cheeks were uneven and bumpy texture on my lips. The moment I realized that my jawline was stinging like needles, I suspected there was a spreading agent. I sent him a DM asking if it was normal. No response from him. I was worried he had blocked me. I opened my account and saw nothing. Fears gripped me. The mirror showed my face distorted by swollen cheeks. Bruises marked my lips, and purple spots dotted my skin, which felt hot and itchy. I checked. Over and over, new lumps appeared. Finally, I took myself to the ER. The doctor was troubled. "What did they inject in your face?" I had no idea. He worried it was a filler. Touching my jaw caused me pain. Tests had to be done right away. Since maybe I fainted, the filler my doctor put in was horrible. I discovered that it was unsafe. It was made of industrial silicone and strange chemicals. Some of my tissue was dead. The doctor said that I must have surgeries. She told me that it was important to stop infection from spreading. Later, the police came. They asked me for the Instagram name of the person who gave me the doctor. I told them all I could remember. About 2 weeks after the surgeries, I looked in the mirror and saw my face had severe injuries. I felt I had to tell them the information I knew. I had strong wounds on my face, just like other women I met. Here, people are pretending to work as doctors. With not much money, I treated my face where I had cuts and such like things no doctor would let you see. I agree for my life to change. I am Matt from around San Francisco. I am a high school student and I do as most guys do. For views I put great on social media, I am picturing horrible things happening. Now a craze has come up where the guys were training of from trains when arriving. It is important to let you know it is very serious or scary. Though most making it have happened, so wow, I wish to speak, what happened is too awful. Tom asked first, "Dude, look how many views like it's going to make." This is a way those people deceived I've met some of the avoiding doctors or even the neighbors to prevent the eyes. I have found someone who was false. She claimed to cross whose track was a train. As a result, they got died badly when which trains carried all about this. People in fact made just told lies with what that my story tells. Are what I come across there not any good signs at all, and must be aware something of brain. I wish I told you. Lucas showed us videos then. He had me all ups in arms. "Look at this guy flipping off a train." We all laughed, but I was worried. "It'll get you famous," he said. "Some of these are too crazy for the road," Jason claimed. Jason called us for action, and Eric to film as Jason made plans. "Let's do something real outside the road." They chose a deserted railway line. We could make noise and no one would care. The sunset painted a golden landscape. Tom filmed it as he exclaimed, "Gosh, this is the real action." None of us had courage to take a chance. Jason suggested to practice first. He was Tarzan now. Eric was filming. We were bored. The moment the train did come, it made such noises that terrified us all. The train shook like mad. The girls were just above the train track. Tom acted like he was dead when the train approached, but it was still a practice shot. "Come nearer," he said while checking the video. It was looking good, but the monster did not seem realistic. We went on performing as someone got closer. The tension was rising. "Just one shot, remember," Tom emphasized. I was anxious, but I had to shoot this epic video. The iron rails were big and hazardous now. Jason and Eric seemed unfazed and heckled as usual. "Let's do this." I forced a smile while Tom was not scared of anything. The train started to rumble before we saw it. The goosebumps rose all over me. Then Tom just focused on the rails. "Right now," he said. Tom was about to go insane. Here goes the footage. He looked at me so hard that he even mismanaged the filming. He was out there on the tracks with the screamer horns coming closer. "Shut up, Tom," I shouted, but he was so bent on it. Observing those big lights shone on him was heart-stopping even though he started running. It seems he was walking towards danger. The train crash video was hard to watch. Tom slipped on rocks, fell to his knees, and dropped his phone. He grabbed hold of the train, but it was too late. The train rushed by, and Tom was lost. I felt frozen in shock. Jason yelled, and Eric was too scared to help. We rushed to where Tom fell. What I saw was horrible. The train was gone, and Tom was lying there. His phone was recording his last moments. The scene was silent. Jason got sick in the bushes. Everything seemed unreal. Tom's parents arrived, and his mom panicked at the sight of the medics. I couldn't look up. The police bombarded us with questions, but I was miles away in thought. Tom's last story on Instagram was sad. He was smiling but shaky. People thought it was fake. His mom held his sister and stared at the coffin. Everyone was confused. One time, a friend Tom played a game about dying. I wanted to try it too, so I used my gun. I felt cool, but I was scared. I heard Tom say that I sounded far away. Car horns woke me up. I didn't want to do this, but I didn't say anything. I'm Austin, a YouTuber from San Diego. We make prank videos like scaring people or fake ghosts. One day, I planned my friend's birthday party. We were thinking of a cool surprise party for our friend. One buddy, Jason, joked about pretending to kidnap him. Everyone found it funny and had ideas to do it huge. Like ski masks, a van, and zip ties. We imagined how hilarious his reaction would be on YouTube. We were pumped about scaring him out of his wits, but we needed to feel bad that he would have been devastated. We tracked him all day. Ryan always gave his buddies lift home when they were all drunk. On the big day, we got black masks from Kmart. Jason's mom had to drive Kenny's weird car for it. We were staged all the props, but zip ties completed the look as the final touch from the serious drivers. It didn't look like an act, but rather like the movies. Then Mike interrupted. "Is this the smart move? What happens if we call cops, or Ryan goes berserk?" "He will form the cameras, which is a really good show," replied others. So we parked near about the party, whereby Ryan almost exited driving. At almost 2 a.m. and tipsy as he was ready to drive. Our prank thus began. Jason turned on van and stopped it at our friend's car while he was still fumbling within the van. I was the first, and Ryan couldn't realize what was happening before his space was invaded. "What the hell?" screeched he. Just as Jason and Mike dragged him out, there was a cry for help. I took a video from hiding face whilst laughing, whereas he resisted, stamped, kicked, and was shouting, "Shh, don't record me." For a moment I doubted had gone really too far. Nevertheless, we hadn't lost the prank sorted apart from Ryan's genuine panic, which made him wrestle, push, cry hard towards me before I exclaimed, "Hey, it is just a prank." Ryan's lips were shaking. He was not sure whether Michael was joking or not, yet he did notice that it was useless. I couldn't recall any detail of the video he watched. At this point, he had already leaped down from the parking lot onto the road main. That was when the truck light showed up. The truck was moving at a high rate of speed on the next street. I perceived that time was moving slowly. Ryan turned and looked back for just a second. Therefore, there was a chance he figured out what was happening. However, it was a little late. The crash was so loud. The sound of metal and bones colliding could be heard clearly. Something was ripped off. My insides twisted upside down. His body was thrown onto the ground in slow motion. There wasn't a single movement from him. Nobody said anything at all. No one did anything. The truck almost instantly stopped. But before I could understand what had just occurred, Jason grabbed the phone from me hastily. This resulted in knocking the wire off the camera, hence the image was lost on the screen. He started to breathe heavily, saying a few times, "What the hell?" There were green tears. Ryan was unmoving. It was, however, the sirens that did wake up the hospital staff. I could not understand it at all. Could it be that the driver had triggered them? I was not sure. I gazed at my cell phone, which had a red blinking light. That was an indication that the recording was still running. I had recorded everything. The suspense part of the prank, the chase, and the last scene. The cops showed up fast. Their lights were flashing everywhere, and it was hard to see the hands pulling us apart. I tried to explain it was only a prank. A guy yanked the masks off, then took my cell. I wanted to delete my snap, but the truck driver was too mad. The next day, the news blasted it. I told myself only people on YouTube talk about how my prank went bad. But I got hate mail with threats. It was a horror show when folks called us killers. Ryan's parents wanted to sue us and wouldn't talk. I got the note saying I've lost everything close to my heart except for the one friend. The guilt about Ryan's death almost killed me. Since then, I hear that noise and feel the silence. Whenever I go past there, my mouth feels dry and my heart races. Guilt haunts me. So please don't let this happen just for fun making a video. I am Mari from Austin, Texas, and I want to share my story. Jessica is my friendly Instagram mom who tells about the beauty of being a mother. Being perfect about work and family balance is what she always discusses. She speaks of having a fit and happy life. People from New York Times thought of naming her as the finest mother. I have seen her training yoga for beginners. This was her first time to do so. She took a selfie with the big Buddha in Lantau for the Mama of the Year award. Jessica's marathon running sense of achievement added to her many life successes. Her life looked perfect, but no one knew her deep, creative soul. Yoga, happy lifestyle, and travel were her living style. A talented writer friend helped in writing for Los Angeles magazine. She loved her little angel as her softest truth. Jessica's loving little girl was the soul of their family. From the day we met at the hospital hours before my delivery, she made me great friends. After my daughter's birth, I did not seem to be strangers anymore. One hot afternoon, we had a picnic at the park for an organic baby food advertisement campaign. I aided Jessica to lay out a blanket and display wooden dishes. She positioned the posing baby in the center. Despite suffering the bad heat, I followed her with a camera as she adjusted the lighting. She didn't stop it thus, no matter how much trouble it caused her. She was very busy here. The mother is going mad with the image of motherhood. She will not return home for extended periods of time. She decides when and where Mason sleeps while shooting a video. On the other hand, she does not consider his comfort. Only when he fell ill did they postpone the content shoot. The weather was unbearably hot and scorching like the Texas summer days. Jessica wanted to film with an influencer friend at a cool spot outside the city. That morning, she mentioned the boy being sick. I checked her Instagram later and saw her at a vintage truck with the caption, "Mom life, but make it chic." It hit me. Where was Mason? I called, no answer. What was going on? Eventually, she replied. Mason was fine in the car with the AC on. The shoot was near. I panicked. It was almost 100 degrees outside. There is no way he can stay. The mother was unconcerned, saying everything will be all right. I hope she would check your baby soon. I begged her to hurry, but she said she was almost done. When she finally called back, I thought something bad had happened. She could barely talk because she was so hysterical. They couldn't start the car's air conditioner, so the baby was hot in there. When I got to the scene, Jessica was shaking and crying. Her phone screen was cracked, probably from a tantrum. At that time, they were treating Mason. The doctors didn't care about me. They just worked to save him. I wasn't sure if they were really transporting him or if it was just an ambulance trip. A policeman stopped Jessica going with Mason and called her family. As she left with them, I felt bad for her. He was just sleeping but it was too late, she yelled. Jessica had been a cool mom last summer. She posted pictures of her fun with Mason on Instagram. The last picture was of the two together, and her caption read, "My baby boy is my greatest gift." Some were saying it was an accident, but the police charged her with negligence. The trial will not end well. The influencers in my life have successively abandoned tradition. Last, the other firms ceased to back her. It appears no one wants to associate themselves with her. Apparently, we're no longer friends. We've I have not been in touch with her in any way. In addition, I have a lot of bad memories. One such haunting memory is that telephone conversation I had with her when she dismissively evaded my concern. She blandly said that girls would go through a short phase of funny experiences, then nothing after that for would-be very rare occasions. But that phase I never anticipated would take ages. It's a life I had to maintain. What's the best part of it? It's just an illusion called normality. Nowadays, with the ease of the social media platforms, conversations among friends that tell about one another's lives, yet sometimes misleading. A phony image drew him as a peaceful person who resides in a place. The reality is, there are those each group of people has. Some very good-natured, still more. True, some others have to be gentle like them. My affection towards my parent was a case in which things remain about feeling, particularly when seated alone in an address. Eric, as well as myself, being hyperactive people, we do get along fine. Conversely, she who had a main task of taking good care of little Eric there seems to remain sometimes complex, which in fact gave rise. Eric seldom engages in conversations with strangers. Megan, however, is quick to accept invitations for snacks. I have a strong desire to be a part of this event. On that particular day, Karen had a 4-year-old son named Eric. I had a disagreement with my brother regarding who had sustained more injuries. He is equally obstinate. Sarah, too, was always seen glued to her phone. Jaden possesses a visible big heart, loves easy-to-read body language, is a nice listener as well as helpful. It seemed that all social platforms were active. It seemed as though Sarah can't survive without WhatsApp or Instagram. This is Karen, the mother of a 12-year-old Megan and 5-year-old Eric. In spite of this, she was an energetic child and loved to play, thus, at some parts of the game, oops, girls had switched on Girl Scouts. In the winter season, it gets dark at 5 p.m. and we have light at 6:30 a.m. However, when I started going to gym, my spouse was readily available at home to assist with the projects. The girl acted like a pro who seemed to know how to ignite the individual real teenage while wanting rebellious. Where should we meet? Did I challenge it? Sarah jumped from the couch and switched off her cell phone. There is no place, Mom, we are just using phones. I wished I could talk deeper with her but didn't want to press too much on her. I made my mind look at it from another angle. This was just an ordinary girl in real life who was also my friend. And meanwhile, Sarah's way of behaving made me think. Days after Sarah received a message from Jaden, she opened her phone during a shower. The jolt my heart gave me when I saw the address made it truly undeniable. Public venues were ideal for meetings. But he had been suggesting for weeks to meet him at parks out of town, which made me uneasy. I was apprehensive and thought of all that could go wrong as she exited the shower. I couldn't help but seek answers on Jaden's true nature. Mom, Sarah snapped after I looked through her phone. He's just a friend and does not want you to freak out. I suggested to her she block him and delete his chats forever. Though she disagreed with me, following my instinct to protect her was a must. I wished I could talk by myself, but there were complications more so in such situations. Only my assessment lay within her personal reach. That moment, our talk was rather lighthearted. Then the serious one I tell you here, laughs found their way in along the way. The point here, to be dramatic at the time, was that I could think of no sight of Sarah other than the one I had. She must have just needed some space. Still, in a week, Sarah was not only just gone, but information from the school leads circulated, as by that time the whole school talked about the mysterious notes. First, I lied to myself that she was maybe at Emily's house, as she used to do this sometimes. But when I called Emily's mother, she told me that she hadn't shown up. Sarah wasn't there. It felt like a wall was squeezing my chest. I called Sarah, but she was on voicemail. I sent her a message, but it was not replied. That was the moment my panic began. To further complicate the situation with Sarah, I reached out to each of her friends. None of her friends had seen her after school. I remember driving around our area, and I made sure to check all the places she might want to visit. The situation worsened by 9 p.m. I had no one other than the police to call. They came and were asking the regular questions like, did she have any unusual behavior, if she could have run away before, or if she was with a boyfriend? I spoke out about Jaden, about some odd text messages and the address. The leak was on the moon's perimeter. They wrote it, but did not seem to be as worried as I was. One of them youngsters said that she might be at a friend's house and just forgot to say where. But I was sure she had seen my calls and was not hurt. In the daylight, they announced a search for a missing. I saw postings for her missing person. We tried to search for her in a long abandoned house, but it was pointless after 3 long days. The police told me that the body found was her. I can only remember them running a patrol, expressing condolences over one dead person, and preparing for the burial ceremony. The police said the person Jaden in fact was not a minor, he was 38 years old, had falsely represented himself as a high schooler online. Sarah's new adolescent friend was that Jaden whom he deceived into believing that he was a college student. The night of her disappearance, he took her to an abandoned house where he killed her at once and did away with the corpse subsequently. No mobile phone, other devices and fingerprints left the previous places that he had got rid of these before, going without traces. I know he is still out there. He will just change names, open new accounts, and attract new girls like Sarah. Please, parents, watch over your children's phones, know the people they have contacts with, because the predatory are patient, that manipulative, they know what to do. My name is Jerry. I am a mechanic living in Ohio. My partner and I were saving money for the house for many years. The children were growing up, and we needed a bigger home. We wanted the house forever. There was one real estate agent selling a house on Instagram, plus many followers. This agent would flip properties and had great ideas on investing in real estate. The posted picture showed a great location. The house also had a lovely kitchen, a garden, and new floors. The price was low compared to others. It looked like the best deal. However, we were afraid at first. The agent answered our questions easily. He even did a live video chat with buyers. He sent me the video of the house inside. I was amazed by how much he knew. We were happy to move in our new house. The little kids had to choose their new bedrooms first. I was in the living room feeling proud of our house. I guess nothing would change as far as the bad odor from the basement was concerned. I bought air fresheners thinking they would be effective. At some point, I realized the new paint on the walls was bubbling and peeling. Also, we started having issues with the power supply, such as lights burning out. There was a particular day when the lights in the kitchen went off without any prior warning. I was certain that everything was all right, but my wife thought otherwise. All the paint will settle down as time goes along. I was convinced it was a normal thing to happen in new houses. Then there came a point when I noticed some moist spots on the wall. Some days later, the power was cut off at home because of a blown fuse, and the outlet sparks while children were playing in the house. The basement had a dreadful odor and was damp. Water collected on the stairs and on the unstained flooring. The wood was distorted from wetness. The basement was rotten inside. I sent a text to the person who sold us the house, but I received no response. I kept texting and tagging him until he mentioned that there was some trouble house maintenance. I looked around and asked why he hadn't repaired the house first. I commented on how he didn't know how to care for a house. We had been living there for only 2 weeks. I was furious. He stopped responding. The phone number he had given me was not working at all. We had taken out a loan and signed the documentation. Now we either had to fix it or leave it. It was our life savings and dreams. After a blackout one night, I examined the wiring. The old wires were rotten. They were all hand-me-downs. Some were broken, exposing wires. The renovators had just hidden new wires under the old ones without checking everything out. Little did I know that night would be bad for us forever. The power went off again, casting the house into darkness here. I grabbed a torch and went downstairs to the breaker panel. Everything was wet down there. After the door my house opened, May could smell from the long, musty. My spouse asserted yet again that it was being high time for me to awaken that daybreak. I was mad though, since this was the seemingly yet immeasurable faultiness for our home. With my torchlight flickering over outwardly, I went directly nearer to the entangled wires after ripping in the supervised panel at that place, some out corroded and others just hanging on. There existed nothing possessing knowledge of what a man was doing. As my hand fell into midst there, some sudden pain had hit me so hard, such that drawing breath all my body it felt being seared on the inside. Whispering mute instantaneously, paralyzed and all as I went slowly downwards onto the ground when I was facing up towards the ceiling looking through my tortured limbs and also hearing is the ringing sound in ears of me. My spouse was there seeking yet not seeing the moment first, before up above kids were making noise and crying. I attempted to say things for her. I was all right, but likewise words could to come. Although when last I saw her eyes filled with dread, everything went black out darkly. Eagerness having been awake me no more lived. She did not say how she was dealing with the agent. wiring, mold, and death at the home all in mind. She is very connected to the home as to not seeing the bad wiring, mold, and death records. She is a person having struggles here with no evidence. He continues sending home with terrific lighting and arranged furniture. Tudor is still acting like a magnet for families by means of his unflattering but kind marketing that works well. The estate agent, it seems, is ushering family members into heaven by some magical touch. His clients are really happy, thanking him for life-changing things. Too many traps are there. Influencer pictures raise hopes false. One's perfect can be another person's downfall, as a lady in a viral video put it. I see a dull future ahead which will not be good. I am Michelle, a New Yorker, just like other ones here rely on takeouts. Cooking at home is good, but after work, who can manage? Instead of the person who takes dinner can scroll through Instagram and hit the sack. One night while doing Instagram browsing homegrown recipes, Paige caught my eyes that it was colorful. Side dishes am healthy, also yummy pictures. I trust their recipes from such a local hill farm. They are beautiful presentations. The family outings were attractive to me. Trust was raised within me, though restaurants can be deceitful. The weekend I made an order for dinner. The process was simple. I DM'd them on Facebook, selected the food, paid via Venmo, and received quick confirmation of delivery. When the food came, it was warm, neat, and looked just like the photos. Our group of teachers enjoyed some wine while savoring the dish. Originally, the pasta was creamy, chicken was tender, and there were lots of portions, but the seasoning was too strong. I sensed something like metallic taste. Some friends thought that perhaps I was picky. By midnight, I was feeling terrible with awful pain. I woke up with cramps at 3 a.m. Something was off. I slipped to the bathroom floor, all achy, assumed it was just food poisoning. After a long time, I called 911. When the medics came, my head was foggy, and I could hardly talk. The flash of the hospital lights was unbearable, and I was in a daze. A nurse rushed to get me transferred as my vitals dropped. I recall waking up with many IVs in me. A doctor told me just how lucky I was to be alive. Your body was close to going into shock. It further stated after pumping your stomach, and we gave you urgent care. Then I asked what was wrong, and the doctor told me bluntly, "You have severe food poisoning." Tests showed the bacteria and toxins in your body, which are alarming, as well as the consequence of your bad eating habits. The doctor said that your intestinal walls had to incur a lot of damage for this reason. For a while, we will need a feeding tube till you recover. I was so sick after eating from the fake home chef listed on the web. The reason was due to the tube they used to feed people. It couldn't be ignored. I wanted to scream but could not use a strong voice. My pals were feeling better, but they weren't as badly off as I was. I think I had more bad food. I was in the hospital, unable to eat or drink normally. Later, I could look at Instagram again. It was all gone, no posts. The user had vanished. My friends could not find the link or phone number either. Emily found old posts on Reddit where a person became sick too, but nothing got done. The chef went on without a license. We read news where they were caught cooking in dirty places and using bad ingredients. No one knew since they changed names and had no real punishment. This was unfair. I was cheated by a bad seller. It was a scam that hurt people like me. A few weeks later, I got out of the hospital, but my recovery will be hard without support. I don't ever think I can trust the internet again. I was fooled by an Instagram tale that made it look like he was happy, but in truth, he was dead. Inside, when he died, Circus, he was not my son, but my small brother. When he was born, we were the children of one family. He was 22 years old and did live in Philadelphia. He always knew how to have fun. He was always out there to have a good time. So that night, he went to a private party. The kind you aren't supposed to tell anybody about. He showed off this party on Instagram. It looked awesome with loud music, bright lights, and lots of people drinking and dancing. But I doubt if he did so himself. He was on his way home yet. He seemed like enjoying what he was doing. He was not under the influence. Like he had many drinks, he was just making people laugh by cracking jokes. I don't think I have been in touch with some friends who used to be at that party. I've never seen them pretending they did anything wrong, but I am not sure if they really were. I just saw some guys having fun while killing my sibling In the beginning, there was great excitement. The doors opened up. More and more people came in. At first, there were only a few tables with drinks and food. Later, 2 tables were set up for food and drinks, which were considered great by the guests. It seemed like the first time many people had gathered there, and there were kids who were drinking soda instead of alcohol on each table while waving paper fans with my uncle's invitation. After a night of dancing, while hanging out with one of his friends, Justin made silly faces into the camera, leaving me astonished when I spotted something surprising. On the back of him, there were 2 men. One of them was surreptitiously handing over a small package to the other. It happened so fast that it could be overlooked. The other guy then exchanged it for a crumpled cash note. That looked like drug deal exchange. Justin continued to party jokingly as if nothing happened. I thought that I might have mistaken my senses because of the dark and moving environment in such a fast motion film. What I thought might have been just an ordinary business transaction, which bothered me until the end of the party. After that, Justin began paying attention to a girl who was dancing on her table while people just laughed at everything he was doing. Mother was rather plainly constrained to mention it, but she already knew that I was not so much bothered. However, I could hear the tremor in her voice. I took my keys and drove to the address she had given me. When I first got there, I simply parked, knowing it was the right place. But then my heart dropped. The car was there, parked on a deserted street, unblemished except for the destruction to the driver's side window. My mind could not muster the strength to comprehend it all. Having reached the car, my body was shaking, the glass was all over the floor, and the door was unlocked. Yet, I could see inside, and Justin was nowhere in sight. Neither was his mobile phone, and his wallet was absolutely absent. At this juncture, the second of us 2, that was before the woman from the house across the street finally came. "Are you looking for the guy from that car?" she asked. I turned to her, my heart racing. "Yes, that's my brother." She hesitated for a moment looking at the car, then she looked at me. "You better call the cops." I felt suffocated. Officers finally arrived. They questioned me, asking when he was last seen and whether he had any enemies. I spilled everything: the party, the Instagram live, the deal I thought I saw in the... A jogging man discovered a gun and 2 gunshot wounds of a boy. No phone or wallet were found. His Instagram account disappeared, as if he had a run-in with some guys in the clip he posted. These 2 guys took the trash, and one took money. It was as if they were his friends in the video that he posted. No one could assist police with any facts or proof. His friends had no idea he left the party. The phone jammed up, so it deleted video. I keep on wishing if I told him to refrain partying, or those buddies were the ones that were to blame for posting it online. One neighbor appeared to have everything: fancy cars and private jets. On Instagram, he was wealthy when really he was poor. He had loans at the max. Someone getting rich was pretending to be rich online. Gabriel hired Lamborghinis and booked expensive condos on Airbnb for just a night to show off his Instagram life. In reality, he borrowed cars. He always found new expensive cars. He always showed up at our house accompanied by different cars. Every week he used to pose in front of the vehicles and had someone take photos for him. He usually told me how to take, or he would say like blur the background to make it look luxurious, or hold the camera lower to make the watch big. That's how he promoted items for brands and sold courses about making money and getting rid of 9-to-5 jobs. On social media, he was rich, but in real life, he borrowed money to have fun. People in his DMs wanted to know how he did it instead of seeking help from him. I knew that he did not have money he borrowed for his car. I had no talking to him about those things. It was not my business. But Gabriel amazed me never mentioned his debts or creditors at all the time. Most of the time, they screamed at him through the door, telling him to pay, thus started. First selling little things like watches and shoes, later things like laptop and camera. But his Instagram page remained loaded with pictures of expensive things. He used to dine at posh places, but I also caught him eating cheap street food that night when I finished work late and saw a black SUV in front of our apartment. 2 men appeared to talk quietly, and when Gabriel drove in, they approached him. Carefully, my observation was that in addition to his shaking hands, he turned pale. I noticed that Gabriel had become a different person. He started to avoid me on WhatsApp and even in the way. He used to also be tired, famished, yet at night he used Instagram frequently to post luxurious pictures and memes. He was a fraudster who had fooled a lot of people. Then one night I heard him shouting loudly. His voice made me curious. On listening closely through the door, I could hear him say that it was a waste of time to prove something. The following day I saw him, he was pale as before. It was the last time I had talked to him. Vega was posting again new posts on his feed the following week. A guy was in front of a Rolls Royce, looking happy. He had a caption saying that you have to earn success. This means you should keep pushing yourself. That night there was a heavy knock on his door. It was as if it didn't want to take no for an answer. I couldn't sleep that night. The next day, Gabriel was gone. At first, I thought he had gone out again taking rich pictures. After a day passed and another, his old Honda parked there, and he hadn't posted anything for days. Then I heard on the news there was a man without any name at the site. He had been in a cheap motel and had turned to drugs and alcohol for escape. The police found dead in the room after the motel staff reported that he had failed to show up for checkout. The surveillance showed him returning to the motel at 2 a.m. the day before. He left behind a handwritten note on his bedside table, a suicide note. He was only 24 years old, had about 3 friends, one in jail and the other 7. The police didn't find a cause for death. Gabriel had ruined many lives by taking his own life. This includes pretending to be one of the big social media stars, but it was only a cover-up of the inner turmoil. 3 weeks afterwards, one of the girls posted on Instagram. Gradually, she deleted everything that showed their togetherness and changed her profile to a group shot. The girl was moving forward, not mourning the lost relationship. He passed away on a Sunday, yet life continued as usual for others. Only previous friends who had played along as usual, that friendships do not count. The last posts he had were in party mode. He used to be called everybody's king, URL not valid. Only the funds raised helped one person live and really do something good, selfless thinking. One afternoon, I was feeling quite down and thought about ending it all. The only reason I did not go through with it was that a friend was sitting with me on the sofa. We were taking a photo together, and I had a smart look on my face. As I laughed and cried, the memories of this moment made me realize how confused my friends were about me thinking they wanted me to die. They were just trying to show off to the rest of their group, and this was the main thing that made our friendship very problematic. But even though we had lots of fun together, these boys are so much bigger than me. There was a well-known person killed in a bar fight. The press only said a bad person died. The police were still looking into it. He was interested in the lust for this case. He acted controlled towards it. While there is some truth, Gabriel wasn't like he seemed. He made a fantasy that caused his downfall. I am Trevor from New Jersey. My best friend Jake liked big buildings. He was obsessed with Instagram. We watched videos of high climbers. We wanted to try it ourselves. Scrolling through, we found guys on skyscrapers looking down. Their posts were brave, showing risks. The stunts looked wild but fun. Jake loved adventures, pushing limits. One day, he sent me a video about hanging from a crane saying, "We should attempt this." I laughed at first, yet he actually meant it. A few days later, he talked about the unfinished. There was a tall, unfinished building in the center of the city where nobody knew. We saw there to go up and take good video. There would not be any guard or surveillance arrangement, so I felt nervous about it. On the other hand, we'd less to take any risk. It was not about me alone. My friend Jake told me we had not been secured. He persuaded me to join him. Yes, he was excited about climbing. "Better pictures, bro." He couldn't stop talking. I had felt afraid, but it was also daring. I don't like contrary, but I didn't want my friends to laugh at me for denying them true companionship. Doing this on Friday when almost all construction personnel were off duty, with nobody's emergency unit present. As we went there, the place was as remote as the description given by Jake. So cool but spooky. Totally dark. Only one way, which was slightly open. Pitifully dirty. Considerable mixture of cement dust and air motionless inside there, though chilly. Was it rational to undertake such an adventure again? When would I ever feel good to be a loser? Will it be feasible for someone else during my time? Both of my companions had expressed uneasiness now. Have you also tried being somewhere thus? Any stories? There was a cultural program as we were lucky. My legs felt hot amid the stillness in the middle of nowhere from the too much climbing. My pal Jake moved on easily. With the excitement, after a while, I became sleepy. Copying down the whimsings went on and came in my mind occasionally. To near me there was a deep gorge that one could fall down in just one step. At last, I came out with the group when we finished climbing the steep face. This simple roof made the colored millionaire. The concrete walls tough were not far that they could slip throughout, so that it could the sky, that when wind seemed to be everywhere complete opening in the countless directions, the lights twinkled that I had ever seen a city night before. I got the sense of being free. It was at the top of the church tower, the top of relatives of the pastor, for the steel on the concrete surface had been wet from the rain recently. It was slippery so that my stomach kicked back a little. As soon I said quietly, "Let us back," from the ledge. Jake winked as usual, but nothing would happen here that I like by going close to the edge of the world as the number 39. Evil key, number 39. Dude, my heart raced at the possibilities of that night. As a kid, we told one another seriously, "I are not at the slippery B, must be true west." No more photos were taken from bottom, just more sight. The photo of Michael together with the stick was mind-blowing. No safety problems or restrictions, just me in a neat city. Although there was an instinct in me that said it was not possible, I could not argue because I would not take a risk with him taking those footage. The moment Sam took the camera out of the pack, his feet were hanging off the edge. "Stop it, Jake," I screamed, but he was not paying any attention. As he quickly pointed out the appropriate direction with the camera, I was dumbfounded and motionless. The 30-story height way down there was frightening. On a sudden loss of grip, he let the camera he had in his hand fall down while I was getting ready to hold him, and I could not recall how it happened. It dawned on me that there was a deafening sound that overwhelmed me suddenly. All I felt was a lot of anguish. For a while, I was not able to move. There I was, walking slowly to the edge, shaking and in tears. Then the sight of him falling away from me like a bad dream disappeared. And then think about the sudden loss of my mate. I took hold of a phone. It was so slippery it kept on falling off my fingers since I was shaking. I called for help. "My friend has fallen, I ran out of the building. I heard people screaming and some were covering their faces. The paramedics were slow with the dead man. The parents came later. The mom fainted when she saw the dad. I didn't feel anything. The police asked about Instagram photos. We weren't drunk. It was just a silly boy game. The news said rooftop stunts were deadly. Jake got followers but bad comments. I deleted his dangerous photos. I kept one sunset picture. I changed caption to say, 'One picture isn't worth one life. Maybe someone will see it and stop the foolish, dangerous pictures.' Ellie looked quite lucky being so perfect." Ellie shared the story on Instagram about her good travels together with Zach, but she had frustrations too. She said he had a temper about small things. It worried her. They went lots of places, but suddenly stopped posting for a while. Zach continued to post vague of both before though. I could not contact Ellie at all. I had to ask Zach. Ellie replied too fast. I saw the word "no" in a text message, so I showed it to my friend who had trouble understanding it. He thought they left early when I was asleep. Something didn't seem right. Ellie wouldn't run off just like that. Also, Zach was still posting pics of them. I called Ellie again but only got voicemail. None of her friends knew her whereabouts. I texted Zach to find out where she had been, but he has not replied. A month later, MacArthur, who was poking around, found her body in a wooded area off a highway. The forensic doctor revealed that she had been dead for weeks, right after she stopped posting. Zach was arrested that night when they found hair strands, bloodstains in Ellie's phone in his car. The posts and texts were made to show that nothing wrong was happening. He used her Instagram account to prevent questions about what happened. It was discovered that they had fought just like Ellie told me, but this time, it went too far. A gas station witness remembered seeing them have an argument. Ellie appeared upset and on the verge of tears while Zach was holding her arm tightly. Ellie has gone. Zach is likely to be in jail always. The couple's picture goals are they're still on Instagram, and as if viewers do not see through the cracks. I am Paul. I knew Anthony well. We exchanged a couple of chats. We had mutual friends. Though he wore a fake mask, he had some positive opinions. He told me that he once won an iPhone in some Instagram contest. He showed our chats screenshot as proof. Paul was sad they could not reconcile. Zach pushed Ellie too hard. He knew where she was, but their Instagram photos were false. The worldviews, they were perfect people. Don't trust everything on the internet as opposed to the way it looked. I told him where to meet. It was a mall. There were people all the time. He was there with Jake. Anthony texted, "It's not a drug deal." He said, "The pickup was in the parking lot. It is just a phone pickup." So, I said the mall was crowded. Go to the side street. If there are 6 people not on bikes, then it is us. Anthony had sent a screenshot. People said it was weird. Jake told him not to go. Anthony replied he was okay and he is getting a new iPhone. That was the last text he sent. Security cameras saw him. We had no idea there was anything wrong. Ignore Text is an Apple app. It finds out if people are depressed and tells them to talk to someone. Anthony did not hang out with boring people. The meeting was at the side street at night. We didn't see him at first. He was not replying. We thought he was busy. Hours later, Jake called him many times, no answer. So we joked that he was flexing his iPhone. The next morning, his mom was asking for him. Then we realized something was wrong. The boy shot himself in the head. It wasn't too hard, however, he did cause fainting. The people of God, after heard of this informality, went to the falsely uploaded the picture on Instagram. The cruel one behind this scam erased without the knowledge known how to be traced. The false account, it was created account, used a burner mail, but it was inaccessible to know who was responsible for this. The worst case after Anthony, we received the giveaway. Come to see the format likeness. To PlayStation shoes. People entered those into as if they were serious, thinking that these were real. There were bots and false testimonies. It ought to have been something to be concerned about when receiving these giveaways, like, which are dubious. Do not go along with prices for my life. Paycheck, I am Caleb. Working for a company in Seattle, Derek has stringent security rules. Separate one of those uptight there. Part of the group making the time boring, surely he was opposite of such as in the same made jokes. Always calling memes at meeting the afternoon. Post old photo, taken at desk, drinking a mess, having monitors glinting in last, some papers scattered, one caption scratched open, mind is strict Monday. The boy asked, "Shall I remove the post? Will it get me in trouble?" I initially didn't understand. I looked at the image, which seemed dull. On one screen was a blurred document. Some words could be seen. It seemed a company report. I texted, "It's very risky, so delete that post now." 2 days later, Derek called. He sounded troubled. "Weird calls," he said. "Someone warned about what he shares online." "Who?" asked. "No clue, the call ended it." Another caller warned, "Mistakes could cost you life." Derek deleted the post. There were no further issues. However, he got fired that night. The boss said it was because he violated the company's policy. The doctor and doctor's assistant, in explaining to patients what they were going to benefit from, was not enough. You may not have observed that what you did for your patients was a great deal. You love them as much as I do and were proud of their successes. But as the baby fainted, Blip had slipped his hand from the babushka one to there were only 2 such like segments. Jim apologized to this great man with whom he was no longer able to take care of my task, which was flashing through his mind. He simply could not find it anywhere. It had just gone out of sight. Jim looked around and he found the gentleman behind him, who Wassler. Of all fun and games the poor girls were having in the Solomon Mountains. In 1971, Solbar said that this very view of things was changing pleasantly. I was chosen as their best friend so that I could pass them through the open door into their Python realm. What really defeated me is that how come you and your family did not go out together for some short moments full of laughter that would have made your lives bright. I opened my shoes to walk. Don't be shy. House, teachers delete, you only have account statement after that. Darkness is not clear fuzz. Grateful to CK for your support. Friends help with my tools. Learn roles tutor. Add Airbnb. Friends share tasks, not all doing together. Oxygen, live closer to ourselves. New policy, terminated without pay, unfair. Photo wasn't revealing, just an ordinary office one. He texted, "I'm being followed." Next morning, no coffee run. He didn't reply regardless. At first, thought he needed time, but as the day went, panic grew sharply. My gut was uneasy. That evening, Lisa called me asking, "Do you know where Derek is?" He didn't come home. I was shocked. Derek wouldn't disappear like this. I told Lisa about the calls and threats he got. She was breathless, as she said, "Everything is wrong." She reported him missing, but the cops said adults often vanish and didn't seem to care. The next day, news spread. Derek's body was found slumped against a wall in the garage, shot in the head. His wallet and phone were gone. Lisa screamed as she called me. I was shocked. This wasn't just a mugging. The police were asking questions, but they were not searching for the killer. No suspects or signs of a struggle. Just proceed along normal lines. I knew why he died. That photo I took was at fault. I tried to locate it again, but it's as if the account was erased from existence. No photos could be opened on my phone. There were no files left behind. I asked someone who knew about the mess. His answer sent chills down my spine. The account wasn't hacked only, but deleted with all info erased. A person at top of the company did this. The worst part is, nobody cared. Gushon Derek observed that his work was unrecognized by his company. The event was undiscussed among co-workers despite his presence. In a subsequent day, Lisa relocated to the Highlands, where fear tore her apart as she sensed her followers still aimed for her safety. Who wouldn't feel this way if it were them? I witnessed odd occurrences like unidentified cars parked outside our building on my floor. Strange readings were picked up by cars just driving off. Perhaps I was being paranoid. It could have just been a guy posting a photo. He did not point out anything, but he was urged to do so. My name is Brittany. I was Sarah's neighbor and Instagram celebrity in Los Angeles. She had millions of fans viewing her glamorous lifestyle, luxury shopping sprees, exotic travels, and perfectly staged photos. At first, people envied her, wishing to have the same life. As the neighbor, I knew too much about Sarah. I had heard screams or shouts when she was recording something. Like singing, there was lightness and joy all around. Yet, behind closed doors, there was no peace at all. I saw her leave on one evening crying, wiping her tears using her hands. This was not before my astonished eyes among others. She had revealed how well they fitted together, even though that wasn't the truth. Judith was the truthful person David needed. That was enough for David, and he made his choice. This showed what Christ could do. He would come as the rescuer. One hot sunny day, Jennifer walked to the place in town with no clouds. In spite of her loss of the child, she had no more fullness in her heart. She was lonely and upset. As she read about the name Young Worshippers for Christ in the church on her bulletin, suddenly she began to cry because of the distress of being on that wait list for help. Where was God? I had an abortion, God, why is it not enough that I abused him shamelessly? The Lord told me that since I was unable to overrule my pain, I should cut off the messenger so as to have the next relationship, because it was not necessary for me to suffer more before healing. Leah's mind was troubled, searching for signs that she was going to have a big divorce. But altogether, it didn't come as something unexpected, nor did it leave room for any other one to betray her. They agreed to separate because, after all, it was she who was suffering this time around. Judith felt sad about her past mistakes with her daughter. She prayed to God for help to move on. During dark times, she thought she was alone. However, she wanted to join her spouse's functions, but she did not feel well enough. Judith spoke to her sisters about her problems and realized that it would take many years to heal. There were days she felt hopeless without a place to go. However, Judith's invitation from God to join the group was vital. Judith acted differently around mothers, which worried her. She felt guilty knowing it was her own fault. She feared being judged by others in church. I was awed about my coordination skills. When I told her, she was annoyed. She was looking at a picture of designer bags and coffee drinks with the caption about success. I thought she is very arrogant. Later, I heard emergency cars outside my window. Looking through the window, I saw the ambulance and police cars. There were neighbors whispering and a tense stretcher inside. It freaked me out seeing my friend so many times. I moved on to the balcony to see below, which alarmed my heart. I overheard the officers talking about drugs and alcohol on the table. I worried about her not being okay. I heard snatches of what they were saying. They were deducing she was on some dope. It reached out to my mind as the police are modifying cars. I was in disbelief to hear from a person whom I know slightly, being overzealous and nervously. She didn't seem to show how I felt in this big way. There was a completely vacant bathroom with an empty pill bottle. That was evidence of Sarah's suicidal attempt. I pushed Sarah's door ajar a little. The moment I was able to access her perfect apartment, I was taken aback. The room exhibited zero traces of dirt. There was a ring light illuminating the area, a laptop with half-typed words on it. A beach selfie was set to be posted in the morning, captioned, "Grateful for everything life has given me." Nevertheless, it was already too late for Sarah. There was an initial period of shock and disbelief among the followers of Queen on social media when they got the news of her death. Her life seemed too perfect to be true. Some were requesting explanations about the gaps behind her always playful personality. It caught me off guard as well, given that there appears to be nothing amiss with her life. Yet, the reality was that she had articulated her feelings without adequately communicating with anyone. Hers was a highly directed virtual existence that served as a false front. As for me, my name is Nancy. I study at Salt Lake City. I and my friends are fond of adventurous activities like outdoor traveling, camping, etc. Our weekend habit is posting stuff about our escapades on the Instagram stories and reels the moment they happen. Last weekend, we went camping in the Wasatch Mountains away from town and from everyone else for that matter. The place was too secluded, thus we didn't happen to meet anyone else while there. Tents were erected and firewood collected, as well as unloading of food before going hiking. The sun had set. The mountains looked big, the air was cool, it felt like a new land. We were the only ones there. We roasted marshmallows and told stories. The fire burned low. I told a joke. Rachel was dancing. Mark and Jason argued. Stephanie just smiled. I posted a story. I said I was camping by the lake. After midnight, the fire went out. The night air was cold. Rachel and I went into the tent. The first night was funny. We looked at stars. We heard wild animals. In the morning, we joked about the fire. I showed some clips of us by the fire. It looked like a drone. But it was a hidden dinosaur. I did not see it. At first, I thought the light was playing tricks on me, but a closer look revealed a man hiding in the bushes. His face was blurred out, but he was definitely watching us. I showed the picture to Rachel. She suggested that he was probably another camper. I could tell she was scared. At breakfast, Jason joked that we were being chased by a mountain spirit. Mark said it was probably just a passerby. Another guy, kind of shy, told us not to worry. Stephanie didn't say anything. She just stared at a video of our night. We tried to forget about it during the day. Walked and took pictures. Still, when the sun set, I felt like something was wrong. I went into the woods and looked for the watcher. It was unsettling being so still among the trees. The forest felt alive in a different way. Maybe it was Stephanie's nervous glances. A chill ran through me. I woke up smelling the fire burning down and feeling uneasy in my stomach. Rachel was sleeping next to me, but I noticed Stephanie's sleeping bag was empty. It was my turn to wake the others in camp. As the weak sun rose into the hazy sky, I saw signs of pink and dew on the grass, among the tall bamboo and overlapping trees. Barb didn't call back when I tried her a few times. I looked everywhere around the fire pit but found nothing. Barb's bag lay untouched, sending chills down my spine. Jason and Mark were stretching. Rachel came out of her tent with wild hair. She looked like a crazed girl and her voice quivered as she asked what had happened. I replied that nothing was wrong, and I began walking towards the creek automatically, as if my feet were being led by another person. When I reached the creek, I saw Steph facing down in the water. The fish swam there but did not get along with her. She appeared to be in a state of distress. Her throat was terribly cut. I stood there, paralyzed for a moment, unable to process the sight. I could see the pinkish blood on the stones beneath the water's surface. Steph was dead beyond any doubt. Her throat had been deeply slashed. Suddenly came Rachel's loud scream, which caught me off guard. Jason ran up to Steph and shouted her name repeatedly in vain. We had trouble breathing. Rachel held my arm tightly. "Nancy, remember the story," she said urgently. My heart sank. Last night's videos on my phone showed something dark lurking behind us. We hadn't taken it seriously then. Now, we were running away just as Steph had been killed. Gary sped down the dirt road. From then on, we drove silently. Suddenly, a dark shape surrounded us, and it was frightening. In the town, we had to tell the police about our vanished friend. We shakily explained that it would be better for them to get a search team going. When they showed us pictures on Instagram of the shadowy figure in the woods, they took our phones and convinced us to repeat our answers. We'd never seen any shape at all. Also, Steph never indicated anything out of place. Nothing was found missing. They finally went back to the campsite and found her body along with some footprints there. The search party had been lodged at the campsite when she vanished. One morning, news broke that a student had been killed there. Everyone in town started talking about Stephanie, the missing girl. Her family was in mourning. The police focused on the friends she had gone camping with. The only evidence, a dark figure in an online photo. No face could be seen, nothing to identify them. In due time, we were cleared as suspects. One day, I didn't mean to go there, but I was glancing through my alerts on Instagram. A follower request surprised me. It was a ghost account with no posts or friends. The username made me shudder. "I saw you." My first reaction was to block it right away. Yet up until now, I find it hard to sleep knowing that someone is watching us.